All right, we're back for heat race number 2 for round 2 of the 2023 Pat's Acres Super Series Rental Karting League. All right, so I am starting P5 for this race. Pretty happy with that. The field is a combined field, as I mentioned in the last video. So there are 3 classes on track right now, 26 drivers. So quite a lot going on. Happy to be at the front of the pack, avoid a lot of the chaos that can happen on the first lap in the mid-pack. Alright, so I'm about to do something very embarrassing here. So I just want to say, one of the key things on this track is making sure your tires are warmed up going into turn 1, turn 2 are high-speed, banked, flat-out corners, essentially, and going too wide into them in a tight group can be chaotic. So, warming up is key, but yeah. So, definitely just a mistake. I was swerving, trying to get some heat into the tires. The guy in front of me braked a little bit as I was mid-turn. I tapped the brakes, and that's all she wrote. So that was a bummer. Thankfully, I was able to speed up back into my position before we got going, but yeah. Safe to say I had my tail tucked a little bit here. But hey, you know, things happen. But now just to focus on the race. I will say, unfortunately, I have a terrible kart. As you will see, I can basically not turn right. So that'll be fun. Alright, so coming down the main straight, watching the flagger for the green. And there we go, green flag. So guy there comes down on me a little bit, but gives me some space, and 3 people try to turn down, and that does not work out. So pretty quickly up into 3rd there. That was an unfortunate accident. Hate to see it, but yeah, can't turn down on people on your inside. Alright, so pretty happy right now. However, I'm quickly realizing that my kart, as I mentioned, does not turn right. So here you can see me just getting tons of understeer and scrub, slowing me down a bunch coming out of every right-hand corner. Thankfully, the left-handers were actually fairly good. It just felt like either the tie rods were bent or the chassis was bent slightly, but left-handers were good, right-handers were a struggle. So, I know that I'm not going to get to the front of the pack with this car. So, my only hope is to minimize the damage and drive as defensively as I possibly can. So, you're going to see me here keeping to the inside on the corners, trying to not let anyone pass me, and trying to hold on to every position I possibly can. It was actually pretty fun. Don't get to flex that defensive driving skills as much, so that was kind of interesting. But yeah, they are all over me out of every right-hander, and then I just do my best to make myself as wide as possible the rest of the track. Working pretty good, but eventually I'm going to start losing some positions here. I can only hold them back so much, but that's how it goes. So, lost 1 position there, back down into 4th. However, I was able to get a pretty good run on turn 1 and 2 and put them behind me again. And I'm sure that was frustrating for them, as you see me taking the inside line here, trying not to let anyone pass me. Alright, so pretty good here through the back, kind of left-handers, but here's my nemesis. I try to just stay on the inside and hope to not let him get a good run on me. Seems like that worked this time. Nope, somebody on the outside. Let's see if we can hold it through. Looks like we did, but I believe they're going to come up on me here. Covering the inside, going into turn 1 and 2. Gosh, I love turn 1 and 2. Beautiful, high G's, and you just got to thread the needle on the line. So, again, pretty bad right-hander there for me. So I believe they're going to be they're all over me right now. I have 3 or 4 carts behind me on my bumper. So, gotta pull the old Alonso move. Just make yourself as wide as possible. Alright, well, all good things come to an end. They got a good run on me there. And that's nothing much I can do. I'll tuck in behind, try to get the draft. And again here, I know that I'm not going to win this race. I know these guys are faster than me in this kart, and so I'm really just going to do my best to minimize the losses of positions here to try to set myself up good for the finals. It's a bit of a late move into the corner there, fully taking the curb, but that's all good. I will say my hands are a little expressive. I think if any of you are drivers, you'll know as well. As soon as that shield comes down, as soon as your foot goes down, green flag's out, you're in a different frame of mind. And you know, in the heat of the moment, while you're driving, while you're racing, little things you can react to them a little strongly. So disregard the hand gestures there. I fully am aware of the situation I'm in here. I'm just going to try to be as defensive as I can. Right, so I believe I've lost about 3 positions over the last couple laps. Honestly, I thought it was going to be a lot worse. So, you know, so far so good. I can deal with 3 positions there. That is assuming I get a good kart in the final race. But, hey, you gotta set yourself up. You can see me looking behind me a lot. That's not something I try to do often, just try to keep my head down and put in fast laps. But, again, here, just trying to be defensive, I needed to try to keep a good gauge on how close people were, and that sort of informed my driving line, whether or not I would take a defensive line or the faster line, depending on how close they were. If there's a bit of a gap, they weren't going to overtake me into the corner, I might as well just take the fastest line through each corner and, you know, try to stay on the bumper of these guys ahead. But if they're close, I was going to take a more defensive line, which is a little slower, but, you know, prevents the overtake. So I'm still surprisingly, you know, keeping up with these guys. So that was good. And again, this kart, it had a good top end speed. It just, for whatever reason, just would not want to turn right. Tons of understeer and, you know, just scrubbing across every right-hand corner, which, of course, slows you down. All right, so last lap. Just going to try to hold off the guy behind me and stick with the 2 guys in front. Again, beautiful afternoon. I think it was like 70, 75 or something like that. Absolutely gorgeous. I love this facility. Right. So as we're coming through the final corners here, looks like I'm going to hold on to this position. I believe when everything was said and done, I ended up in P6. So, lost 1 position, but honestly, starting P5, ending P6, and with a kart that had no business being up there, I'm really happy with that. I had a lot of fun trying to, you know, drive defensively, and maybe didn't have the outright pace, but, you know, I like to think a little bit of racecraft helped keep me still at the front end of the pack going into the main, just to avoid that any chaos, and hopefully with a good kart and some good driving, the main is set up, or I've set myself up well for the main. So we will see. Thanks for joining in again, and we'll take it into the pits and come back with the final race.